The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hey, bon dia.
And
Welcome to another edition.
bon dia, senor.
Welcome to another edition of Table Topics. So I'm going to give you a slight break today because I know you're covering the city of Fall River and the Flint area right now. So don't want you to make any false steps or anything.
No, but yes, I'm on the Flint, and after 2 weeks, I think we're gonna try to put a show together for everyone.
Yep.
A lot happened in 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's a lot happening, and I have a few videos I want you to see, which you may have seen already, but I wanted to get after we see them, or we can go through each one of them. Let me know. I want to know what your feeling is with the state of the country right now. So I'm going to see if Steve can play one of them right now for us.
What everybody's talking about this morning, some gas stations in Raleigh, for example, out of gas. This gas shortage concern is leading to pandemonium at gas stations all across central North Carolina.
That is a great way to put it. Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Bill. I want to get to our Joseph Holloway live at the Costco gas station in Raleigh. Joseph, we've already seen long lines. We've seen people kind of lose their cool out there so far this morning. What are we seeing now?
Yeah, we've definitely seen our share of animated people this morning, and we're also just seeing the lines get longer. We told you about the line that we saw over right here on Six Forks Road. Well, there's a second line. I do want to show you this real quick. So there's one line, and then there's the second one just coming right here into the parking lot of this Costco. Now, as we zoom in a little bit further back, this is where the pumps actually are, and it's taken quite a while for a lot of these people to just get up there. But you know, several drivers that I talked to tell me that they struggled to even find the place that actually had gasoline this morning, so they came here. And one of the first drivers in line says that he saw the long lines last night here and knew that he needed to be in line early today.
I'm about on a quarter of a tank right now, so I didn't want to, idle in line. I wasn't sure how long the line was going to be or how late they'd be open. So I figured it'd be best to get here early as possible this morning.
Now, important to know, because of why all of this is really happening. It's all about that cyber attack, of course, with Colonial Pipeline and the fears about the gas shortage. So what Colonial Pipeline is saying is that it is working to deliver its current supply to the areas that need it most. But right now, it's not clear when they're actually going to be able to restart their pipeline systems. But as you can tell, a lot of people are still concerned about the gas shortage. Reporting live, Joseph Holloway, CBS 17 News.
So, what do you think?
That face that is usually covered by her phone has finally made an appearance. That face is laughing. That face is expressive. That face is talking more.
This may be another continue. So Carlos, what do you think?
Well, the internet is frozen so much that I still watching the video, but I believe I was in and off, but I do believe that it's something about the storage of gas.
Yeah, it's due to the I guess one of the pipelines that goes from Texas to about I guess southern New Jersey has been hacked. They don't know who. It's been hacked by, I think they said, Eastern Europeans. So it's caused massive lines. And I know when I was younger, back in the mid-'70s here in the U.S., we had a shortage that was under President Jimmy Carter. So we had gas lines, like that. It's kind of reminiscent of what it was like back in the 70s. So that was interesting to see for sure. What else is interesting is that how how is it possible to hack lines on an oil pipeline? How is that possible? But it's not possible to hack computers during an election. That's what they said. That's not possible to do that. But it's possible to hack lines on an oil pipeline or a gasoline pipeline. How is that possible? What do you say?
So, well, you know, technology today, it's crazy. But why do we have any idea who's doing it? And,
well, they said, I think they think it's people from Eastern Europe, or it could be the Russian bloc, you know, or it could be Russia. It's always Russia. It's never China. It's never any other country. It's always Russia. So, but my thing is, we haven't seen things like that since the 1970s here in the U.S. And also my thought to you was, how is it possible that someone can hack a pipeline, but they were telling us that they can't hack election machines and stuff like that, right? But they are able to hack a pipeline. So what do you say on that?
Well, I think they are total complete hookups.
Okay.
No?
I think if you can hack any kind of computer system, you can hack an oil pipeline, you can hack anything. I would think there'd be extensive measures put out there so you can't hack these things. So I'm just it's almost like a parody, I guess, is what I'm trying to put together here, that, you know, we're told you can't do this, but you can, but now we're hearing that you can hack a oil pipeline. So that's all I was saying. But I have two more videos, but these are all gonna tie into the same thing, Carlos. So I wanted your take. So each time we look at a video, I'm gonna get your take, and then at the end, this all comes together to a point. So Steve's gonna roll the next one.
Eyewitness video shows the white contrails of Israel's missile defense system cutting across the sky, then moving to intercept Palestinian rockets fired from the Gaza Strip on Monday. Islamist militants fired a barrage of rockets toward Jerusalem and southern Israel in what the Palestinian Hamas group said was punishment for violent confrontations between Israeli police and Palestinian protesters. The rockets triggered air raid warnings, sending Israeli school children into bomb shelters. There were no immediate reports of casualties from the rocket fire in Israel. Retaliation from Israel was swift. In Gaza, the health ministry said at least 20 people, including 9 children, were killed in Israeli airstrikes on the Palestinian territory. Some of the injured were brought to this hospital in northern Gaza, where a child cried out in pain, and a woman who lost her husband screamed as she followed his body out of the hospital. Israel's military said it carried out strikes against armed groups, rocket launchers, and military posts in Gaza, after militants there crossed what Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called a red line by firing on the Jerusalem area for the first time since the 2014 war.
The terrorist organizations crossed a red line on Jerusalem Day and attacked us on the outskirts of Jerusalem. Israel will respond very forcefully.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Monday urged all sides to take steps to reduce tensions.
Needless to say, we're very focused on the situation in Israel, West Bank, Gaza. Very deeply concerned about the rocket attacks that we're seeing now that need to stop and need to stop immediately.
Tensions have been rising for weeks in Jerusalem. Jewish groups are trying to evict Palestinian residents from a neighborhood in the eastern part of the city. As Israel celebrated Jerusalem Day earlier on Monday with marches marking its capture of eastern sections of the Holy City in the 1967 Arab-Israeli War, violence erupted at Al-Aqsa Mosque, Islam's third most sacred site. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society said more than 300 Palestinians were injured in clashes with police who fired rubber bullets, stun grenades, and tear gas.
So, video number 2. Sorry about that. I had a barking dog here, so I had to put it on mute for a bit.
For a minute, I don't know. I thought it was I was on a video.
Yeah. But, so this is video number 2. This is what's going on in the world right now. Now we have Israel and the Palestinians are fighting again. We had our Secretary of State there saying this has to stop. I don't know about you, but did that sound very convincing to you that the Israelis or the Palestinians are going to listen to him saying this has to stop? It didn't sound very convincing to me, did it?
Oh no, definitely not. And I have to say this countries out there, they always in war. It's like we decided to go after one person. We go there, we invite the country, we kill one person. Yeah. But that's not going to resolve anything. Going in there and killing one person that we want to target is not going to resolve anything. Either America wants to help those people and go for a cleanup, or don't even bother, because that becomes personal. One president don't like that person, let's kill him. One president don't like the other person, let's kill them. We're never gonna go nowhere. And all these people in suits and ties, okay, they're not the ones where all those bombs are falling. So they can go on these beautiful suits and ties, and say, let's come down, this has to stop. Well, words not going to mean anything. Actions means things. So, but until you gonna go and do the job the right way, okay, never it's going to be done, and it becomes politics. That's all politics.
Yeah, I wonder when we're going to get some peace treaties over there. You think we'll have any peace treaties from the Biden administration?
No. I mean, something never happened, and until somebody and some president has, what it takes to do the right thing, the right job, never's gonna. This been going on, for centuries. Yeah. I'm not saying for years, for centuries. Yeah. These people are always killing each other for centuries. Yeah. So it's not us going in there and taking the weapons from one person that's going to stop a war.
Yeah. Did we not have didn't we have about maybe 7 or 8 months ago, we had peace treaties all over the Middle East and people weren't fighting? Wasn't that the case about 7 or 8 months ago?
Yeah, and we had cross borders 2 years ago, and handshakes and all of that. It's a different country, but it's the same politics.
Okay, last video, and this is all going to come together in the end.
She said people saw other people filling up, so they thought that they would fill up too. Gasoline is just the latest in shortages that we've been feeling this year. Of course, the pandemic was a major driver for shortages, starting with toilet paper, hygiene products. We all remember that last year. WCNC Charlotte's Lana Harris joining us live to talk about this angle for us. So, Lana, we're hearing consumer behavior, not necessarily just supply, is a big reason for these shortages, right?
Good evening, everyone. Well, you know what? The panic buying has been evident today. On my way here to Southeast Charlotte from uptown, gas stations either had a long line or they were completely out, just like this QT here on Monroe Road. We've seen cars coming in and out, hoping for gas, but they're all covered here. There is nothing at a lot of the gas stations that we've passed. But have you noticed gas is actually not the only shortage we've been seeing lately? Chicken wings, ketchup packets, chlorine lumber are just a few shortages we've seen lately as the supply chain just keeps taking hits from fluctuating demand. Experts say the one thing you shouldn't do when there's a possible shortage is stock up on the item unnecessarily. But that's exactly what we've seen at gas stations after the primary source of fuel for the state shut down. The same thing we saw last year with toilet paper.
All of this fits together. We all depend on everyone else. That's how our system works.
Harry P. Bowen, an economics professor at Queen's University, says the system depends on buying trends staying relatively the same. And when anything throws it off balance, it shows. The pandemic was a huge driver of shortages we're seeing now, like lumber, after supply dipped below demand with an increase in home renovations. A shortage of chlorine as residential pool construction went up 20% last year and a major chemical plant caught fire, and a shortage of restaurant chicken wings and tenders as the industry bounces back from low demand during the pandemic.
So we have now a resurgence of demand because people are going out to get their chicken breasts or wings, and yet the supply has not kept pace.
Unfortunately, Bowen says there's no way to know what product will face a shortage next.
It's sort of like, can we tell when the price of a stock is going to suddenly rise?
But Bowen says we can help prevent one by keeping the panic buying to a minimum and shopping trends relatively similar so businesses can stock up adequately. Now, of course, the worker shortages we're seeing is impacting businesses' ability to put out product too. So Bowen believes as things start to return to normal, we should stop seeing these shortages. But of course, this is what we are left with for now. Here on Red Road in Charlotte, I'm Lana Harris, WCNC Charlotte.
So I guess Charlotte, North Carolina is the big thing. So
so here are my two takes on this video.
Yes.
The first take is, why, when they announce a 2-inch snowstorm, we run out of milk and bread?
No.
The cows still giving milk every day.
Yeah.
The bread's still coming fresh every day. So why the rush?
Yeah.
So that's what I think. Every time that somebody says, "Oh, next week's not going to be no milk," so I'm going to go there and I'm going to buy 10 gallons of milk when I use 1 gallon. Okay, I'm going to buy 10 gallons of milk and dump on the trash 9. So that's the point number one. The point number two that I think that's going on with this raises is unemployment, because it's people home making more money that they could be at work. So that's the second point, and that's what I think that this administration is doing wrong, is keeping people home, okay, paying them, okay. That's why we have no manpower. I mean, everywhere you go, you see signs for people asking for employers.
Yeah.
They don't want to go to work.
Yeah. No,
period.
I agree. I agree. I'm glad you brought that up, because the president says he doesn't see that being a problem right now. But regardless of that, we have to look at, so we have 3 different things going on right now. Are you better off now than you were 7 months ago? Is this country better off now than it was 7 months ago? To me, it sounds like it's getting worse. So be careful what you wish for, is what I have to say. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Because you may get it.
That depends. Are we better off with jobs? No. Are we better off with the way the vaccines is doing and people are getting out of the red zone? Yes. Are we better off with no having a scandal with a president calling names to other people and going after media? Yes, we are.
Well,
so I mean, depend where you want to go.
Well, Carlos, they don't ask him any tough questions. Let's face it. They don't yell at him. They don't ask any tough questions. Dr. Fauci, watch tonight on the news. During the hearing, Dr. Fauci was asked by Senator Rand Paul, were they doing research in China? Were they doing research over there? Was the U.S. government funding them the money? He goes, absolutely not. But they're doing this funding to see if they can get diseases to jump from animals to humans. Now, they admitted it's being done here in the U.S. Do you think that it's really not being done in China? And there's a possibility that escaped from China? And he said, absolutely not. Where there were scientists in that lab that have said there were issues there. So this is why you're not going to see it on CNN tonight. You might see it a little bit on Fox, but they don't ask the tough questions. So, of course, what is there any reason to yell back at someone? There's no reason to yell back, because the media asks easy questions, or they don't push them. With Trump, they'd scream at him and yell and holler and everything else. So, you know what I mean? You got to ask the tough questions.
I don't see it that way. you know something? The questions that Trump used to get, he used to give it to them to ask them. You know, he with his actions, with the way he come across, he made those reporters make those questions. Okay, when this guy comes on, it's like, you know, let's because they don't have nothing to pick on him. Yeah, he breaks his English breaks because he has a problem since he was young, that, you know, he used to have problems speaking, and his speech he's still struggling speaking. Yes, but
Carlos, do you remember him doing that when he was vice president? No. When he was a senator? No. So that's another story for a different day. But anyway, let's clear this out. But that's how when you look at the news now, nothing's better than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Nothing has got better in this last few months here. Instead, we have things passing that mean nothing to help the American people. But they're passing all these different things that mean absolutely nothing. Anyway, well, let me.
The only thing I can. No,
God,
the only thing I can say, John. The only thing I want to say is, let's see if the Republican Party gets strong enough to elect another Republican president. Because the way the party is going, it's getting divided and more divided.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know that. I mean, it's going to be seen whether people will vote in Republicans during this 2022 election. That'll be the show here. Because if they do that, they got to get everything done in the next year and a half. Because once 2022 comes in, and the Republicans take the majority, they're not going to get anything done. So maybe that's why they're throwing all this stuff out.
So we've been talking about a third party, and now it's some Republicans coming public and say maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's what we need to start looking. It's having a third party. What do you think? We've been talking about this forever, but now we actually have politicians. Yeah. We actually have Republicans saying that maybe it's a way out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends on, you know what I mean, how they look at it. I mean, you know, the country's so divided that it's, you know what I mean, will this third party take away from one of the parties, which most likely would take away from the Republicans? Is there enough? Can they get enough Republicans and then enough Democrats to kind of go with this new party? Who knows? I mean, a lot of things that are being done right now make no common sense. So, but
you think the last president has something to do with the party being this divided? Because you always had one or another. You know, you would have few them that would like go in different directions all the time. But the whole country at this time is Republican, and the whole country, it's kind of
I mean, splitting. If you look at it, the past president was really not a Republican. He was a Democrat for years. So he was just basically somebody that wanted to go in and shake up the system. So to say that people that voted for him were Republicans, they weren't.
He did a good job, John. Yeah. He did a good job.
Well, I mean, but anyway, why don't we switch here? Because you're sort of a movie star. I saw you on television. You're sort of a movie star. I saw you on television about a week back. So I know a lot of folks didn't see that, but I saw you on TV, and that kind of leads into we have our second day of deliberation in the Jasiel trial. And yes. What does that mean? Normally, we're out 2 days now. It sounds like they can't come to a consensus, or they're knocking a lot of these charges out. And as someone that kind of followed the trial, I mean, I
don't see it.
Good.
I don't see it that way. What I see is 24 accounts.
Yep.
Remember, they have to go one by one over 80,000 papers.
Yeah.
They want to make sure they're going to make the right decision. Yeah. So when you have like CNC, Body CNC had 5 accounts.
Yeah.
Took them, I don't know how many hours to do it. 4 accounts. This is so deep, and I'm going to respect the request they asked me not to publicly talk about until the verdict comes out. But I'm just gonna, as an outsider, what I'm gonna speak about is just as I turn my TV on and everybody can see is 24 charges. They have to get a yes or no vote one by one, and they all have to agree with every single issue. Until they have consent in one, they cannot move to the second. Until they don't have the result on the second, they cannot move to the third. This may take a while because some of them I can see it's a couple of 100 pages and they get it done with. But some of them it's 5,000, 10,000 pages. You know, one thing I have to say, the COVID. I think the COVID works against Jasiel because, you know, at home you can get a lot of work done, and they have out of those 2 years they had a whole year home, okay, getting out of bed in front of the computer, requesting copies, requesting bills, requesting statements. You know, I mean, the time worked against him. But they have a lot of material, and from my first interview that I gave to them in 2015, they didn't touch it. They didn't touch in 80% of the stuff they touched with me. So they were very particular in what they're going to get them for sure. Yeah. Instead of losing time with just this one said that and this one did that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They just out of the all and after the trial, we're going to talk about, you know, what it could be, what could they take to charge him with, and they decided not to. Yeah. Well, because it is very complex.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not going to have you talk about it anymore because I didn't realize that. But as I listened to it, and I didn't listen to everything. I mean, you know, because you're at work, you got the, you know, video or whatever, the noise back when you're doing. So it wasn't like I was sitting in there, but I did hear, you know, a fair amount of it. And it just, you know, one thing that struck out at me is that most of the witnesses haven't had immunity agreements, which I thought was pretty interesting. So myself, that kind of also plays, but I think the longer you take, and I know there's a lot of information out there, the longer it takes, I think it always shows that they're not coming to consensus. And there were a lot of things, and there was, you know, from what I remember listening to, you know, I understand because I live in Fall River, but these folks, it's kind of hard to get these stories to go together. You know what I mean? It was just like this. Some
of those stories, it's like a movie. It's like they're watching a movie. You know, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But I don't wish him bad. Yeah. He was a bad mayor for some of us. He was a really bad mayor. He was very mean mayor. But I don't wish him bad. I feel sorry for the family because sometimes the kids put us through something that we have no, you know, no say on it. But it is. But I feel bad. I wish him this goes fast and behind him, and he can, you know, do his life again.
Yeah, no, I hear you. The last thing, we only have, it looks like a minute left, but we'll have to talk about this on the last show. The next show is about trash again. It's interesting. At the council meeting last night, they were going to talk about it, and then something blew up, and everybody was yelling, and we're not going to talk about that for a bit. And we're in mid-May now. So, yeah, it's interesting. This is all a rerun of 2013 because I had a lot of councilors saying, this is not on us. This is on the mayor. So this is a repeat of the Will Flanagan thing, how nobody wanted to take responsibility for it. It's the mayor's thing. So they could come back and yell and say, it wasn't me, it was the mayor that did that. You need to vote me in this year.
we're gonna talk about that next week. Until then, stay safe.